Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the principal's office. I am Jamal Maxim. I'm an igniter of champion leaders. I help aspiring and emerging leaders make the shift and answer the call to leadership. This is the principal's office. It is a weekly video podcast that is streamed on various social media platforms. And so I am so glad that you are here. Now, before we get started, I want to invite you to do one thing with three things. I want you to comment. I want you to like, and I want you to share this video with anyone that you know that is interested in learning about leadership, that aspires to leadership, or is new to leadership. Because my goal, my mission is to help you be successful and overcome the statistics and all the things that may be working against you as you learn and develop in your ability to lead and really learn who you are as a leader. And so today in the principal's office, here's what we're talking about. Is it time to quit? Right now, there's a very popular hashtag where it's talking about hashtag teachers quit on social media because of all the things that are going on in education. Education was a tough industry before the pandemic. It was a tough industry during the pandemic, and when the pandemic is over and when we come out of this thing fully, it still may be a tough industry. And I just believe that education will not be the same ever again. So the days of the sit and get type of instruction or the lecture model with the PowerPoint are long gone. And so, of course, our students learn differently and they have to have more engaging instruction. But we also can't go back to the typical ways of instructing and not being having that personal connection with students. And so I'm just going to talk to you about real transparently about if it's time to quit and how do you know when your season is up. Because I believe in times, I believe in seasons, and I also believe that we have to know when it's time to go and when it's not time to go. Because you may be feeling like maybe it's your time to leave, and it could be. Or maybe it could be your time just to shift and make an adjustment in order to really fulfill what you feel like you should be doing as an educator. And so let's get into it. I'm going to talk to you about a couple of statistics that is really going to confirm what you're already feeling and thinking and knowing, just to frame this conversation. So quitting right now is a strong consideration for a lot of educators. A lot of people want to quit because they're dealing with the shortages. They're dealing with how political education has become, which was even more political than before. They're dealing with unrealistic expectations placed on them by administrators, and administrators, my friends, my leaders, my cohorts, are dealing with unrealistic expectations placed on them, and superintendents are dealing with unrealistic expectations placed on them. Right now there's a law that's trying to be passed in one of the states that says that teachers have to submit a lesson plan a year in advance. Who plans that far? And so there's a lot of things being required and asked from and mandated that really are not best practice in education. And it's partly because educators aren't able or aren't invited to where these decisions are made, or their voices are not being heard. And so and that is causing people to want to quit. They want to leave. They want to go. And so here's some stats. So 90% of teachers are feeling burned out right now. And that's according to the recent study that was released by the National Education Association. And this study was just released not too long ago, so I'm sure you've heard this before. So 90% of teachers are feeling burned out. And now, here's more results from that study. And you can find this on their website. It says 90 of them are 90% are feeling burnt out, and it's totally serious for them. So that's why you see that light pink. And then very serious for 67%. There is 91% that talks about stress and general stress from the coronavirus pandemic. 61% of that feels like it's very serious. 91 total serious. Now, student absences due to COVID, 85%, are dealing with that and want to quit because of it. Another 80% want to quit because of unfilled job openings that lead to more work for the remaining staff, trying to fill in, trying to do not getting a planning because you guys are cycling through covering classes, principals covering classes, district admin covering classes. And so these teachers that are doing that, 80% of them feel like they want to quit. And 78% feel like the pay is too low. 76% are dealing with student behavior issues. 76% want to quit because of a lack of respect from parents and the public. And then another 73% want to quit because they don't have enough planning or unstructured time. And so we see all of these things occurring as factors as to why people want to quit. Now, let's look at some more stats. More than half, which is 55% of NEA members, say that they are more likely to leave or retire from education sooner than they planned because of the pandemic, which is double the number from last year. So in between last year, in between July of 2020 and now, and that time this data was gathered, that number has doubled, where people are talking about leaving sooner than they planned. They're saying, I'm getting out of here. It's too much going on. All right, so let's look at some more stats. Now, the National Association of Secondary School Principals, in conjunction with LPI, their recent survey data said 42% of principals indicated they were considered leaving their position. And this was as of May of 2020. So as of May of 2020, 42% of the secondary school principals that are members of this organization said they were considering leaving. So we have teachers ready to go. We have principals ready to go in large numbers. And now let's keep going. Now we see that 2/3, 63% of the National Superintendents Roundtable, 63% of the respondents said they're considering quitting during the 2020-2021 school year, which was last school year. And one said that they considered quitting 3 different times. So during the last school year, there were a large number of superintendents that considered quitting. And one individual said they considered quitting more than once. So we see this thing. We see almost a I don't want to call it a pandemic of leaving, but it's people are calling it a great resignation, a mass exodus. But whatever it is, however you want to coin it, we see this detrimental factor that is causing teachers to want to quit, principals to want to quit, and superintendents to want to quit. Now, I would tell you years ago, I remember observing, like maybe 5 years ago, going to the recruitment events to hire new teachers. I remember seeing how little it was, or how small the number were of applicants coming into education, and that was 5 years ago. And so you see this trend that's continued to not go well. We see a lot of people, they're not feeling like education is worth it. But so what do we do? As a parent, what do you do? But as a school leader or an emerging school leader, what do you do? How do you know when it's your time to shift into something else and when it's not? And so let's keep looking, because many superintendents, they've dealt with strokes, panic attacks, and threats of violence, because of the pandemic, because things are changing daily almost, and it's hard to really get a handle on the correct safety measures that should be done, because many of the experts don't agree, because they're trying to figure it out. And so when the superintendents are making decisions that are best for the district and principals are enforcing that decision, now we are seeing that people are getting so radical that they're sending death threats. And then the stress is so high that some of the superintendents are dealing with panic attack and strokes. Now you have principals as well dealing with the same thing. And so some people want to quit simply for mental health reasons. Now you have to do what you have to do for your mental health. I believe in that. But here's the thing I want to say as we continue to talk. Don't make a rash decision or a decision out of frustration in terms of quitting or leaving the profession, because a decision that is rooted in frustration will only produce the wrong result. Or you may get the right result, but the wrong way, so you don't get all the benefits of the decision. never make a decision out of frustration. Never just say enough is enough, I'm quitting. There are things that you can do to deal with the frustration, as you are dealing dealing with all of the unrealistic demands as you are in your position leading, but you never want to make the decision to leave the position during a time of frustration, because when it is time to leave, and I can tell you this personally, when it is time to leave, you will begin to sense, or will have a sense, that your time is ending prior to you actually leaving and ending that time. And during this time, you must start thinking about what's next. And so you have to be able to reconcile the emotions that you might be feeling about leaving. Because when you start getting that sense on the inside that it's time to go, you're definitely going to have some kind of emotions, because you're going to start to feel like you're missing the students, or missing the camaraderie of working with the teachers that you serve, and missing the people that you work with at the district level, missing the parents, and concerned about what will the school be like if you transitioned out, or what the teachers, how will the teachers respond, and what would they do if you transition out. And you're going to deal with all of these emotions because you've gone through so much schooling to get in so much, and you put in a lot of hard work to get to the position of leadership and to stay there and be effective. And so you will begin to sense when it's time to go, and you will have to process those emotions as you begin to sense that. And it doesn't happen like, okay, I woke up today and like, I'm done, I'm quitting, or this has been a bad month or a bad school year, I'm done. And so that, while some of those things that you are experiencing may play into the decision, I just encourage you again, don't make the decision out of frustration. Really get back and get to a relaxed place first and get well rested. And then begin to just really get a sense of what should you do in your life right now. Is it time to shift? Is it time to transition? Is the season for leading your school or being in a classroom, is it up? Has the grace lifted? And so here's the thing. Because if you stay too long, it's not going to be good, because you don't want to overstay your welcome. Because if you would do more harm than good staying in a position when the grace is lifted. Now that seems very oxymoron, because I talk to people about stepping into positions, but you have to also know when you need to step from your current position into the next thing, which may be a different position at a different school, in a different district, or to do like consulting, or do something totally different, or be at a educational service center. And so you have to know when it's time to shift, because if you don't, then when the grace is lifted, the passion isn't there any longer, you're going to not lead from your best self. And then what happens is you will begin to, you're not leading from your best self will have a negative impact on the people you are serving through your leadership, whether it be the teachers, the parents and other stakeholders, or the students. What you think you're doing to try to do what's best for them would not work out if you are in the position beyond the time you are supposed to be there. And so you have to be clear on when, if it, this transition to look like. Here's the thing. If it's not time to quit, then you have to identify what the changes are that you are feeling. Because like I just said, it may be time to go to a different position, a different school, a different district, or it may be time to just change some things and make some adjustments in the place you are currently leading. Because just because you feel things are shifting and need to change, that doesn't mean quit. And so I talked to you about some things to consider previously about quitting, but you might need to know, your feeling of enough being enough, your feeling of this isn't worth it, may mean you might have to shift positions. You may need to go to, if you're leading a school, you may need to go to district, or you might need to do something different. You may need to go to a different school, or you may just need to really put some changes in place in your building and be an igniter of change. And so you want to figure out what the changes are that you are feeling and sensing, and what they are supposed to look like for you, because the answer might not be quitting. And so you want to ask yourself, as you are feeling frustrated, is quitting what I'm supposed to do right now? And what I mean by quitting, I mean by instead of saying asking quitting, let's say it this way. You should ask yourself, should I leave this position? Is that what I'm supposed to do right now? And then you have to determine if it is time for me to leave the position so I can stay productive, so I can stay in a mentally and emotionally healthy place, and so I can keep my passion and fulfill my purpose. What does leaving this position look like? Does it mean going to a different position, different district, different school? Or does it mean starting a consulting business or going to work at an educational service center? Or does it mean leaving education altogether? So you have to really think through and consider all of those different pathways that are before you when you make your decision. And you want to make sure you make the decision considering, rationally as well as following your heart. A lot of people will say, well, just follow your heart. Yes, you should follow your heart, follow your instinct, but you also need to make some intentional, strategic decisions while you are following your heart, because you don't want to make a mistake and just quit, and then all of a sudden you don't know what you're going to do because you're lost. Now, there are times you transition out and you're trying to still find your way in the new place. I understand that. But what I'm saying is you don't want to make a rash decision out of frustration or exhaustion, because it's one thing to be frustrated and exhausted and overwhelmed and burned out. And it's another thing to know it's time for you to leave your current position, because frustration, overwhelm, and burnout, you can address that. Okay? And so I want to know, after I've talked all this time and shared my thoughts about it and some things you can consider. And I'm going to just tell you this before I ask you what I want to know. I had to deal with this same situation. I remember making a decision as a principal in a charter school. I remember making this decision to leave that school after I had just turned it around, because I had to I recognized that for my own emotional health and for my family, it just wasn't a fit for what I wanted to do and needed to do for my family. But I didn't quit education. I ended up leaving the charter world and going into the traditional public, which was good. And then I remember I went in as an assistant, loved it, had loved the school I was serving, loved the people I was serving. And then I had to make another decision. Would I accept the role of principalship? And so I tell you all of that to say sometimes you just need to shift, not out of education, but maybe shift in your assignment that you're doing in education. And then it was time. I was getting the sense it was time for me to leave being a principal, but I didn't want to. And then circumstances happened that really forced it. And so I can share more about that backstory another time. But so I want to ask you this. How are you going to apply what you heard today? The things that I talked about, the things that I just shared for you to consider, how are you going to apply them? Are you going to ponder them and think about them and really spend some time reflecting and journaling so that you can make the right decision and have the right answers for that is best for you in this season? Now, don't allow yourself to feel any guilt trips that someone may try to put on you and say, oh, think about the students, or if you really love the students, you would be doing this and all of that. And don't let other people try to tell you, oh, you should just quit because enough is enough. Why are you staying? Don't let people pressure you on either side of the coin into the decision that you make. This decision has to be solely yours, and you have to be confident in it, because you're the one that's going to have to walk it out and live it. And so you need to be clear with the decision you're living. Now, one of the things I want to do to help you is I am running a 5-day challenge that starts next week on Monday. This is for everyone watching the replay. This is filmed on Wednesday, February 16th. So on Monday, February 21st, I'm starting a 5-day challenge. It is called the Edu Igniters Challenge. What that means is we are going to ignite change in education. And you do not have to already have a position in order to be a change igniter in your school and in your district. A lot of people feel like in order to really facilitate change, they need to be a principal or instructional coach or at district level admin. You don't have to be. And so in this challenge, I'm going to talk to you about igniting change and how you can ignite change from whatever position you are in. And you can get people to listen to you who are maybe your direct that that you report to directly, the people who evaluate you. I'm going to give you the strategy to have your voice heard even with them. So you want to register for the challenge at the link that's on your screen now at jamalmaxim.org/edu igniters and join this free 5-day challenge. Yes, you will see wellness value at a tuition of $9.97. Yes, that's true, because this actually would be and should be a course that I would offer, but I'm giving it free. I'm teaching live every day next week, so you have to register. And I'm teaching for 30 minutes, and then I'm doing Q&A with real life strategies that you can implement every day of the challenge. There'll be something for you to implement, and by the end of the challenge, you'll have what's called an ignition playbook, because on Monday we're talking about the igniter's DNA. On Tuesday we're talking about what to ignite, how you ignite the root, because a lot of people, when they want to make change, they talk about curriculum, they talk about instructional tools, and they talk about culture. Yes, you need to start with culture, but you need to do certain things within your culture and have a system to support that in order to then have your strategy supported. So we're going to talk about that day 2. Day 3, challenges of igniting, how you keep the fire. Day 4, how you accelerate with the change by creating a dream team of igniters. And then day 5, ignition playbook. So you definitely want to register jamalmaxim.org/edu igniters so you can be a part of this free challenge. Now, for those of you who feel like I do sense that, it's time for me to leave education soon or leave the building soon, and I understand the shift is not for me to go into leadership or to go to a different school or anything like that, but to really use my skill set to impact multiple districts, at the same time. And so you may do that as an entrepreneur, and you're thinking that you want to get out there and either create a course or become a consultant or coach to help education in that way. Well, at the end of the challenge, I have something specifically for people who feel the call to edupreneurship, meaning education entrepreneurship. And so that's called the Dream Igniters Guided Strategy Session. And this is actually session 2. Last month, I did a session and helped people really create a timeline of experiences they would facilitate to serve the people that they are called to serve with their business. And so this session, we're talking about creating a marketing stack. It's all about how do you let the people know that you serve, that you are available, and that there's opportunity to learn and grow. And so that's what we're talking about next Saturday, February 26th. The tuition for that is $45, less than the cost of gas. You'll create a marketing stack for your business that you either plan on launching or have launched, so that you can begin to create momentum and get the attention of the people you're serving. Playing hide and seek and peekaboo is good when you're doing it with the children, but it's not good when you're trying to reach people in the education community. So register for that. It is a special session at the end of the challenge, and this is called Dream Igniters because I want to ignite the dream business that you have inside of you. And so with that, that's it for tonight's Principal's Office. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Remember to comment, like, and share this video. Let me know in the comments what you are doing, how you are applying what I shared today. And if you feel like you don't want to share all of that online because you're considering a lot of things and this is a very sensitive topic, feel free to send me a DM. Feel free to message me and I will message you back. All right, so those of you who are on Clubhouse, join me in exactly 15 minutes for a live Q&A and discussion about this topic on Clubhouse. I will see you then. Remember, I want you to be successful and lead like a champion. Bye-bye.